guys, welcome to Horology Biology. Now on this channel, I like to restore vintage watches back to their former glory, and this one has been a mega challenge. It's not clickbait, like nothing works, literally nothing. It is a Wakmann vintage chronograph with a Valjoux 730 inside. It is a triple date chronograph, and it's been a headache because nothing works. The date functions don't work. The chronograph doesn't work. The watch doesn't work. Nothing works. It looks terrible, and I need to give it that HP goodness to bring it back to its original glory. And I've gone a little bit extra on this one. I got some new tools, new machines, yeah. And I'm going to show you guys later on, obviously, how I'm going to be using these and how we can make this watch look from its poor, sorry state into a really nice everyday wearer. Now, for watch wearers out there, you know that your crystal should not come off like this. No, sir, that's not how it should be done. You should not be able to just put a piece of Rodico on your crystal and it just pulls off. No, not at all. But this is basically what's happening with this. Clearly the wrong crystal that's been used. This is probably why the hands are in a terrible state as well, because they were all touching each other as well. And yeah, it's not looking good so far. So even so, I am still, of course, protecting the dial. In a way, I'm kind of glad that the crystal was wrong because it's made it easier to remove the hands, because I can actually do this prior to removing the movement from the case, just in case there's anything going on there inside, because I've not even looked at that yet, and I dread to think what kind of condition that's going to be in as well. But we're going to obviously find out real soon. So off comes the case back, and we can obviously see what we're working with inside. Doesn't look too good, but there is a little bit of life there when I'm flicking that balance, so I am happy to see that. Checking for play, also checking to make sure that the balance stuff's not broken. And okay, not too bad. The gasket was completely annihilated, as you just saw, so that's obviously going to get replaced as well. Checking out the crown and the winding stem, and that looks shot. A lot of rust on it, really terrible condition, so that's definitely going to need to be replaced. And then I can remove this big movement holder. Another thing to take note of these is they use these two little spacers. Now one is bigger than the other, and it's important to remember this because they need to go in, they need to go back in exactly the way that they went in. So I can take the case away from the movement and the dial and give it an inspection. And then, of course, move to dismantling this case. Now, for this, I am going to use my Horotech tool, which is a pusher and chrono pusher, and crown tube remover. And there's a lot on this case. You've got a crown tube, you've got your two pushers. They're all friction fit, these pushers as well. They're not screwed in. And of course, on the other side, you've got the quick fire buttons for the date change and the day and month change. And they also need to be removed as well. Because if I'm going to give this case some treatment, I need to make sure that I get these out. And there's a lot of crud. So I'm going to obviously have to ultrasonically clean it as well, moving forward. And it's not in the best of condition, guys. Look at the scratches, look at the wear. Needs some treatment. So I'm just unscrewing the dial feet, which are on the back of the movement, so that I can release the dial, and then we can see what we're working with underneath. Okay, not too bad. Now, what I'm happy to see here is that I'm actually engaging now the date mechanism, and it is looking like it's functioning, which is making me believe that the whole problems regarding those pushers were that they're just heavily gunked up, so I'm going to have to re-oil those. Obviously, they're going to be cleaned. But it's a really positive sign to see that this is actually working manually, let's say. Carefully just removing those discs. Also going to put those aside with the dial, keep them nice and safe. And they're in pretty good condition. I mean, this is a really old watch, guys, like 1960s. These are still available today. I've seen quite a few of these pop up on eBay. And they're not cheap watches. No, sir. They're worth quite a bit. Expect to pay 3 figures for these. And it is a complicated watch. I mean, think about what you've got going on. You've got your, you got the timing mechanism for starters, obviously. You have got a full calendar month. You've got the day of the week, and you've also got the month as well, which is pretty crazy when you think about how much that they threw into this. I'm surprised they didn't throw a moon phase into it at the same time. Now, mechanically wise, it is the Valjoux 730. It's pretty much exactly the same as the Valjoux 72, which is great for me because I'm really familiar with that movement. But all of this on the dial side, this is quite new territory for me. I've not worked on one of these before, but of course I felt pretty confident about it with knowing about Valjoux. And of course, as long as you take your time and you're making a note of where everything goes. And remember, guys, what I said before as well, make sure you put your screws back. Always put your screws back, because if you look on this, there is a lot of screws of different sizes, different thicknesses, different lengths, and it's absolutely imperative that the right one is used in the right place. Otherwise, you're just going to have a big headache later on. Making sure that I'm holding down the springs as well so that the parts don't fly away. That's also really important. So now that all the calendar mechanisms are out of the way, I can remove this plate, which holds everything together. Holding with these 3 screws, and I can lift that off and obviously inspect everything underneath, because then I can see the keyless works and everything that is functioning. Oh dear, look at that. That's a lot of damage, a lot of rust. Not cool, not fresh. And unfortunately, kind of what you can expect from failed gaskets and watches which are like 60 odd years old. So it is what it is. So there's going to obviously have to be some parts that are going to need replaced. There's going to have to obviously be some deep cleaning on this as well to try and get a lot of this rust off. And then see what I can salvage, and then obviously decide what needs to be replaced. So breaking down the 12-hour chronograph mechanism. Inspecting as I go, and like I said before as well, I always put all my screws back. Just easier, guys. They get cleaned anyway, and you know where they're going to live. Off goes the hour wheel. And then I can remove the cannon pinion with a Presto tool. So I'm going to leave the keyless works for now, because obviously I'm not 100% sure if there's any wind in this watch, because it's not running, and when I did wind the crown, nothing would happen. So I don't know if it's locked up or if something's broken. I mean, something's clearly not right, but I thought, let's leave the keyless works in, because I want to check it to see if I can remove any wind of it later on, once I've broken down this chronograph. Obviously taking off the balance and put that to one side to keep it safe, so that the hairsprings are not going to get messed up. And then, which is absolutely imperative on these kind of movements, make sure that you take off your springs first, because your springs are basically holding everything under tension. And the last thing you want to do is leave those on and then remove a part, and then it ends up shooting across your room, and you're going to be on your hands and knees, spending the next half an hour, or could be even longer, trying to find it. Again, another spring. Now, a lot of those springs as well, they have 2 little feet, like dial feet underneath, and it's quite common that they break. Now, none were broken on this, thankfully, but it's important that you do check that, because you can see there's 2 little stud holes where they go. And sometimes they do break. Off goes the chronograph bridge. And then I can take off the runners for the seconds and the minute. So here I'm doing it now. I'm just going to basically check to see if there's any wind in this watch by holding the click back. And I'm not getting much movement, but I don't trust it. So while I'm removing the pallet forks, as you can see, I'm just holding down any kind of potential tension in the watch. And then you're going to basically see if it's going to run or not when I let go. And it's important you do this because you don't want to break your pallet forks, basically. That would really suck. So as you can see, there was some wind in this. Not a lot, but still enough that you could ping your pallet forks, and yeah, that would suck. This is also a trick that I do as well for when I'm removing this wheel. I use a special Presto tool for this, but there's no space on the Valjoux for you to actually, for the feet of it to come away. So the best way I find to do it is to actually just stick an old ratchet wheel or something down so you can use it as a little bridge. Now this one was really hard to get off, as you could see, and it actually removed the center part of the wheel. It's not a big problem, it's just friction fit at the end of the day, and as you can see, I just staked it back together. It's only happened to me once before, and coincidentally, it actually happened on another video, on a live stream, but it's the only time it's happened. So off comes the bridge, and then I can get to the trainer wheels, and also to the ratchet wheel and the barrel. And of course, we can already see, if you haven't spotted it all yet, yep, teeth on the ratchet wheel missing. And this seems to be a really, really common issue on Valjoux 72s. I have actually lost track on the amount of 72s that I've serviced that have had broken ratchet wheel teeth. It just seems to be a very, very common issue. Just like we're working on Enicas and always these like slip-in cannon pinions, it just seems to be like this with Valjoux 72s. I've never had an issue with a slipping cannon pinion on a 72, but I've had so many ratchet wheels destroyed. So in other news recently, I picked up a new tool. It wasn't cheap. No, sir, it was not. Was it worth it? Hell yeah, it was worth it. I've actually picked up a lapping machine, which has not been used very much at all. And I must admit, I have really been enjoying using it. And this video is going to be the first video that I've actually shown some footage of me using it on this watch. Now for this watch, it wasn't possible to use the lapping machine for the whole case, quite simply because the case is not flat in a lot of cases, basically, and it's just not going to work like that. But for the case back, obviously, I did use it, especially trying to get that nice cut edge on the edge of the case back, which you're going to see very, very shortly. And I put together a nice little montage, so sit back, relax, and see that in action. Now, using a lapping machine, obviously, you want to use different grits of sandpaper, and I really, really like this one. It's not huge in size, even though it weighs a hell of a lot. Like, this thing weighs 55 kilos, which is crazy. And I had to carry that out of the car, which sucked ass. But it is really, really pleasurable to use. Once you get everything set up, and then you're just working through the different grits of sandpaper, yeah, the results speak for themselves, and I'm more than happy with how it's going in regarding this. It's a learning curve. And it's something that I'm going to be spending a lot more time on in the future because it's an avenue of watchmaking and restorations that I really, really wanted to get into. So without further ado, guys, enjoy. Now, as I'm sure you guys will agree, that is a nice piece of kit and definitely something that I'm going to be using a lot more in the future. Now, the case obviously was polished by hand using various different grits of sandpaper, building it all the way up to around 5,000. So that it really, really shines. And you guys are going to see that as the end result. And I am definitely happy with how it all came out. Really, really nice. Also use the lathe as well, because that bezel, surprisingly, I actually thought it would come away, but it's fixed to the case, which is a little bit annoying, which you saw that I protected the lugs. And then I sanded that by hand on the lathe, as you could see, using various different grits. So new crown wheel added, as you can see. And I just added some grease underneath it and a little bit of 1300 to the inside of it where the core's going to go. And then I can put that together. Also adding in the click and the click spring. And then just putting that into place. And also making sure that I add a little bit of grease as well to the end of that click spring. Now, as most of you guys know already, I love working on these movements. I really, really do. They're so nice to work on. They're such a solid workhorse. When they're all serviced properly and they're built up to speed, they will last a really, really long time. And they're just such a lovely piece of engineering. So building up the trainer wheels, and then I can add on the bridges. Massive bridge that covers the rest of the trainer wheels and also the barrel, and then making sure that everything's connected and lined up correctly, as you can see, before obviously I go ahead and screw it down. Then I'm going to add some 9010 as well to the jewels, and a little bit of 1300 is going to be added to the center wheel, which you'll see in a moment. So guys, what's your take on automatic oilers? Because I've been thinking about getting some, and every time I think about it, I kind of think, yeah, really? Like, I break oilers a lot, and I think the thing that worries me is if I accidentally break one of those, it's going to be damn expensive to replace it. And yeah, I'm kind of not feeling that. So I think that's the main thing that's put me off. So if any of you guys are using those automatic ones, let me know in the comments what you think about it and if it's worth the investment, because they are not cheap. So I added the minute wheel and also these intermediate wheels, 2 intermediate wheels on this watch. And then I can build up the rest of the keyless works afterwards. Adding in the sliding pinion. Now, what you can see here is that I've put in the crown with the winding stem, and it's that old one, which is going to be replaced. It's a little bit annoying as well, because I ordered one and it got lost in the post, and I really wanted to make this video, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to order another one, and when it comes, I will just replace it, because it's a 5-minute job, obviously, just to cut that to size, and I can do that afterwards without dismantling anything to do with the movement. It's just a case of removing it. So obviously, just for this video, you could see that I'm using the original one. But rest assured, a new one was used and replaced, because they're not super expensive. I think they're about 25 bucks, something like that. And yeah, it's definitely needed to be replaced, because it is a first point where water might potentially attack. And this one, yeah, even though it was cleaned, yeah, the rust is really, really deep on it. A little bit of pitting on the setting lever, as you can see. But it was only surface pitting, and I'm not too worried about that. From a functionality aspect, it worked perfectly, and that's what's most important for this. So I flipped the movement over, and now I can add the pallet forks. I'm giving it some fixer drop treatment and making sure as well, guys, that you remove your fixer drop from the pinions, because you really want to reduce the amount of friction, and it can potentially cause friction. So just remove that and then offer it to the watch. Add in on the cock, held in with that one screw, and then I'm going to add in a wind to the watch so that I can obviously oil the exit jewel. Now you need a steady hand for this. And my hand's pretty steady, as you can see. Mad fresh, yeah. Just a little bit. And then once you've done that, make sure that you circulate it across your escape wheel so that all of the teeth get a nice little piece of oil. And I repeat the process 3 times on this as well. And then I can add the balance to the watch. And we have life, which is damn good because this is the first job done. Obviously, we've got to get the chronograph running and we've got to make sure that we build up the date issues as well. Now, I'm just checking it on the Timergrapher here as well, and we could see that it needs some regulation, and the amplitude was coming in at around 227. Now, it's important that I showed this, and the reason I did, is that I wanted to show to you guys is you get a rough idea of how the watch is looking once you've serviced it, but that amplitude can go up a hell of a lot once all of those oils have all settled in, and you're going to see that later on. Now, this came in at around 227 amplitude, which is not great. It's okay, but it's not great, and it definitely should get more than that with a new spring and a new service, especially for a watch like this. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is don't suddenly be ripping your watch apart the second that you serviced it just because you see your amplitude is like, oh, damn, my amplitude is a bit low, even though it's got a full wind. Leave it for a couple of days. Let your oils all sink into place. Once you've oiled it, let it run for a couple of days. And you'll probably find in a lot of cases that your amplitude will shoot up once everything has settled. It's really, really important just to not jump ahead and think, oh, I've got to start dismantling things. Just wait sometimes, you know. And like I said, you're going to see that later on. So putting in the runners, runner for the minute and also for the seconds. And then I can put the little cock on top, or the bridge, technically a cock if it's only one screw. All signed with Wakmann on top as well. And then I can screw that down. Also, most important to note, you only strictly need to oil the seconds one. You do not need to oil any oil to the minute one. It's something that moves very, very slowly because it's only just turning over, and the oil could potentially cause a bit of drag, and that's not what you need. So on the Valjoux 72, you do not need to oil, and it's in the manual as well that you do not oil the minute runner. Column wheels being put in place. And like I've mentioned before as well, guys, about these screws, it just makes your life a lot easier. You know where everything lives. You know you've got the right screw. Just remove it and then put your part in place, and then you can obviously screw it down. I'm adding some grease as I go, obviously, where a lot of the springs are going to connect. It just makes things easier to do it, I find, as I go. Some people do it afterwards. Nothing wrong with that. Placing the hammer in. And then again, a little bit more grease where this is going to connect from the pusher. Now you might see as well that my bench has changed a little bit. I had a bit of a cleanup. Yeah. I was at IKEA, of all places, which sucks. I don't like IKEA. I don't care what country you go to. IKEAs are all the same. They're boring. There's too many kids running around, and it's busy, and it sucks, and I just want to get in and out. But I had to go there to get some stuff for my apartment, which was not cool, but I had to do it. And while I was in there, I actually saw those cool little desk things that you can see, that little black thing. And I thought, oh man, that would be actually really, really cool. They're not expensive as well, guys. I highly, highly recommend them for your bench setup. I think it cost me about 25 bucks, so probably a similar price depending wherever you are. And you get a little drawer on it as well, which is perfect size for you to fit like a lot of tools, especially things that you're going to be using, like for servicing a watch that's there in front of you, but it's keeping your bench nice and tidy. And I was just getting a little bit conscious that my bench was getting a little bit busy. I had like staking set on there, and I thought, you know, do I need to have a staking set? Like, I mean, technically I had two. Do I need to have like two staking sets like on my bench all the time when you're not using a staking set all the time? You know, you're just really not. And I thought, I want to really declutter this. So for literally 25 bucks, I picked up one of these. Fits beautifully on the bench, and you get a nice drawer inside where you can put like all of your tools as well and daily things that you're going to use, like Rodico, things like that. And it just really, really makes a big difference. So I'm really, really happy with how it looks. And again, highly recommend it, guys, for a very, very affordable price. So chronograph, as you can see, fully built up, fully operating, start, stop, reset, all worked from what I could see. Very, very happy with that. So this is really going well. And now I flipped the movement over, and of course I'm now building up the date mechanism side for the quick set dates, the month, and obviously the day as well. This is, like I said, a pretty complicated watch. And I did find as well, though, while doing the date mechanism parts, a third hand would have been nice. So there's a lot of springs that you're having to put into place. A lot of springs that you're having to hold down as well while you're manipulating them into place as well, which is important. So yeah, sometimes we're doing things like this. A third hand would be beneficial, guys. Checking the engagement, working sweet. Then I'm just adding in the hour wheel as well. Now, usually that's something that would obviously get added right at the end, but there are parts which are going to obviously block this, so it's important that you add it at this point. So guys, if you've got a vintage watch that you need looking at, feel free to drop me an email. My email is in the About section on the YouTube channel, and maybe it's something that I could actually feature on the channel in the months to come. Who knows? So yeah, drop me an email if it's something you want working on, and we can take it from there. So again, with working on something like this, it's important that you really check everything as you go. Take your time. There is no rush. Seriously, if you rush it, you're going to mess it up. You will. I've messed things up myself by rushing, and the best thing to do is just patience. Another thing as well, if you find that you get like a little bit frustrated and things are like, oh man, this is going not the way I want it to go, blah, 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 just put it aside, come back to it tomorrow. You will have a completely different mindset about it. It's almost like starting again, and it's just a lot easier to basically do it like that. So adding on the first wheel, which is going to be the day one, and I'm just checking the engagement. The top spring obviously has now just been added, and I'm adding in a little bit of oil just to lubricate that. But the good thing is that it is functioning. So now I can work on the other side, which is going to be for the month. Now it's interesting as well, because the way it works on this watch is you have the pushers on the left-hand side for the date. And the bottom one will do a quick set date for the date, like the 1, 2, 3, 4. And the top pusher, it actually has two functions. If you soft press it, it will just change the month. If you hard press it, it will change the month and the day of the week. So basically you can quick set it in one go. You know, you can obviously set your day first and then do your month afterwards. So it's quite interesting that they could do it like that by the amount of pressure that you put onto the pusher. So adding on the last wheel, which is for the quick set date. And I'm just making sure now that I can align the spring, so I need to pull that out of the way. And as you can see, it's changed over, so as if that was 12 o'clock. Adding on the dial washer, and of course now I can fit the hand. So the watch has been built up. Pretty happy. Dial's got 2 dial feet, and I've turned it upside down, put it onto a different movement holder so that I can just nip up these screws on the other side. And now I'm just checking the pushers just to see if this works, which it does. And I'm really, really happy to see this. A lot of relief, because it's a lot of work. So adding on the big hand, I'm actually using a stake for this because the size of it is a lot bigger. So the normal hand press tools, they're just too small for it. It's a similar problem when you're doing it on a GMT watch as well. I did actually, as you can clearly see, I actually forgot to video it. I completely removed all the old paint from the hands. I repainted them with airbrush and I reloomed them and they look like new. So really, really happy with how those 2 hands came out, the hour and the minute hand. Matched it up perfectly to the original. And then I can just fit all of the hands. Checking obviously that everything is lined up and snapping over. And that of course, none of the hands are touching. And of course, once that's done, I can move on to these little sub hands. Add in the one for the 12-hour, and I'm just nudging it out of the way now. You can do this manually. You can just push it all of the way, and then I can press the reset button. And this is just a really great way to see that it's resetting back to 12 without an issue, as you can see. Same goes for the minute as well. And it saves you waiting, basically. Aligning the chronograph hand, I always use some plastic tweezers just to centralize this. Trust me, do this. It'll save you a hell of a lot of time because you're not going to get it right first time. If you use something like that, it will really, really help you. So for the case rebuild, I am using my Horotech tool, which is, as I mentioned before, it's for removing crown tubes and also chronograph pushers, but you can set them back as well. So it just will work on the other side. You can just press them all in and they're all friction fit. So I added a little bit of Loctite to every single one and then I pushed them put in. I also put some new gaskets as well onto the pushers. And then I also added a little bit of oil because the pushers for the date, they're actually like a completely fixed unit. It's not like a normal pusher where you use a screw on the inside. They're a lot smaller and it's a completely fixed unit. So when you press it, you see it come out from the other side. And I just added a little bit of oil into it so that it goes inside. Also added a brand new crystal to this as well, a proper crystal that actually fits. So very happy about this. Just blowing off any excess dust as well. And that's a cool little tool as well. Get one of those guys, those little blowers. They're about 40, 50 bucks on Amazon, USB air blower. And they're absolutely perfect for getting all of those annoying dust out of crystals, you know, because sometimes the little hand blowers, they're just not strong enough. So the crystal fit well. And now, of course, I can offer the movement to the case. And this watch is looking really, really good already. So I'm offering those small washers back to that movement holder, making sure that I got them the right way around. And then I can just drop this into the watch. Now I am going to add a gasket to this later on because I didn't do it now. The reason being is because I still need to replace that winding stem, and then I'll just add a new gasket at the end. So checking it out on the Timergrapher for the final results. And as you can see, we got the amplitude coming up in the 300s, 0 beat error, which is remarkable for a watch of this age, with a rate of -1 to -3 seconds. I'm more than happy with this. I hope you guys are too, because this has been an absolutely pleasurable watch to work on. So there we have it, guys, the Wakmann Valjoux 730 Triple Date Chronograph from the 1960s. Full case restoration, full movement rebuild, running absolutely perfectly. I am more than happy with this, and I really hope you are too. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you got nothing else to do, grab your coffee, relax in your comfortable armchair, and there's 2 more videos on the screen right now. As always, guys, till next time.